I get a week or more or less, and then I will be serving at a friend's church for Awana, and then jumping back into my new church, working in the children's department. I did that. I kind of cheated over the summer. It's hard once you get started with something to actually stop. So that's about me. I have no titles after the end of my name. Went to UCSB, got married, came home, had kids, and got into Awana. I dropped my kids off. That was the plan, to drop off my oldest child and go to Target, Starbucks, or what have you. And that was the plan that I was going to do because I needed a break. I had a 5-year-old and I had a 3-year-old, and we were at this new church, and they had this thing called Awana, and I was really excited about it because they said, you bring your kids, they learn about God, and this is how it was presented to me. You learn about God, and you get a break. So I thought, and it's free? I'll take that. So I came in, the lady was very cheerful, very happy. She took one kid, she took the other kid somewhere else, and then for the next 2 hours, I'm like, this is perfect. I can go to Target and do whatever I like. And then one day she goes, oh, by the way, stop. And she said, would you like to just come in for 10 minutes at the very beginning and maybe give a snack? And I was really, I can do that. I could cut an orange slices or something. And so I dropped off a snack, and then the next week she's like, can you just come back maybe towards the end of class and maybe show up just like 10 minutes early? We have this time where it's really fun and no pressure, just you want to sit down around kids. I'm like, just sit around. I do that all day at home, and I can do that. So a lot of no pressure, and then the next thing I knew, I had a red shirt on, and they were giving me a lanyard, and they said, if you read this little book, you'll get this little pin, and that was the end of that. So I've had the pleasure of wearing all the colored shirts, which has been really exciting. I've had some kids where I was strongly encouraged to volunteer in their class because if I didn't come, they weren't going to come. So I've had that, and I've had other classes where they were like, oh, we're so sorry to see you go, and because they knew I was moving on to another area. So you will have all those types of volunteers. But anyway, let's get back to us, but that's enough about me. Help with the volunteers, please. I'm really, really big on, I have been to the Awana conferences in years past, where I'm like, well, we're here at Awana and we're learning about memorizing the Bible, but no one opened the Bible. That just has not happened in quite a few years, so I'm really big. So if you have your Bible, let's open it to Nehemiah really quickly. And if you don't, that's fine too, no pressure. There's no pressure on that. And you've got your phone, because I'm going to try to make this a little interactive. And I just have a few steps from a book that I love, Rock Solid Volunteers. Has anybody read that? It's in, if you go to awana.org, a lot of resources that are there, and it's a book that was out, I don't know, 2011, 2010. It was really big in children's ministry. And it's a really good book on how we can get volunteers and retain them. I don't even like the word volunteer in a sense, because that's more of a corporate and a worldly word. I've tried to find something comparable to it in the Bible, and I don't know, there might be some seminary students and scholars who can tell me, but I can't find a word for volunteer. Is there one? We're considered workers, we're considered friends of Jesus, and we're also considered laborers. So I can't really find a word that compensates for volunteer. But since we're in the world and we're in it, but we're not in it, we're just going to use the word volunteer. The steps that Nehemiah followed. I don't know if you guys know the story of Nehemiah. Yes, because I don't want to go too in depth in it, because I want to get to the part about us actually going through the steps of actually asking each other how you can get a volunteer, because some of us have not actually done that. And it's not until you're actually put a yellow shirt on or a director's role on. A lot of times we get put into positions just because we've been there a long time and we don't really know the steps, so I want to do that too. No one faced hostility, if you have your little handout. In his ministry, quite like the Old Testament leader Nehemiah. He struggled to keep volunteers, as we struggle to keep volunteers in our Awana ministries. his challenge included opposition from armies. We don't have that, okay? So I'm not trying to compare us to that in the same sense. Although we have some that have so many kids and so few volunteers, you might seem like that is overwhelming. It is really hard when you walk into club that night and you have 6 people who are stated they're going to be there, they have texted you, they said they're going to be there, and then you start to hear the clink, clink on your phone. And you're like, what is that sound? And you see the number from this person can't make it, their other kid is sick. And so now you have, and it's a high night, you know, it's frog night, you know, bring your real friend night. And now you have 40 kids and you have, you know, 3 workers. So how do we do this where we're not having this happen week in, week out, week in, week out? Because that's what happens. You volunteers start to realize, oh, I don't have to show up. I just show up when I feel like showing up. And we just want to really encourage and pray and get the people that we are blessed to work with to see that they are really, really integral to the club ministry every single week. It is, I mean, there's always going to be something that happens, you know, a death or somebody sick, but, you know, a sale at Kohl's is not a good excuse to miss club. Not saying that's ever happened to any of your clubs, but it has happened to mine. So Nehemiah successfully led his volunteers in the mission of rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem. And here are some of the steps that he did that we can do ourselves in trying to get volunteers. So the very first one, obviously, is, who wants to read that first one that starts with pray often? Because I don't want to hear myself talk the whole time. So I'm just looking for anyone to read that one little sentence, right?
Just that one sentence before.
Yeah, that's all I've asked right there.
Pray often and honestly about the needs.
Okay, so you're going to pray honestly and often about the need. If you have your Bible and you looked at Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4, he actually says, and I'm just going to read it here myself. When I heard these words, thank you, by the way, I sat down and wept and mourned for days, and I was fasting and praying before the God of heaven. So he was very realistic about his situation. It was not all roses. If you walk into a club and there's 30 kids, and you've got 2 little dings on your phone, that means 2 people are not going to come, and you have 2 other people who are going to come, and you have 2 people who are new who you have to train, that's not the best situation. It's not impossible, but you have to be realistic. That is the time where you might have to just gather up your group and say, we need to pray. Instead of starting to scramble, the best thing to do is just to stop and to pray. And I always think it's a good thing to pray way before, you know, club. You can't really start effectively working. If your club is Wednesday night, don't start working for club on Tuesday. You need to be getting ready for that club Wednesday night, Thursday. In your minds, you might not be able to do it because of job, but Thursday morning before the next club, you know, 6 days from that, that's when you start thinking, do I need to text my volunteers? Do I need to email them? Is it an older lady? Do I need to call her on the phone? Because some people don't like to be texted or called on the phone. Some of us who are over 40, we like an actual call. And some of us that are over 50 and 60, we like mail. You know, the stuff that comes, the little square stuff. Some people like mail. You can send that, you know, a little thing to say, I'm praying for you. I was so excited to see you in club last week. You know, so glad that you got a chance to talk to little Jimmy about whatever. And just, you know, say that you're praying for them and then actually do that. So our action step is, what church members that come to mind that you need to pray about volunteering? Let's start to really think. Who do you know? I'm not saying the parents yet, but the old lady that you pass by, you don't know her name, but she seems to always, during the greeting time, she is always seeking out the little kids. If you guys have your kids together, or young adults before they separate, who can you think, just 2 or 3 names that you can put down on this sheet right now that you can ask about volunteering for your club? So that means you're going to get your pencil out now, and you're going to write those names. And you're like, I can't think of anybody. Then write that down. God, I can't think of anybody. Please bring somebody to mind tomorrow. and I probably need to be writing down some as well, because we are going to be attempting to start, I don't know if you know about some parts of Ventura County, but the city of Oxnard, which I live on the edge, but I do everything in Camarillo. We go to church in Camarillo. My sister lives in Camarillo. I'm in high school in Camarillo. It's like I seem to do everything in that town. Now all of a sudden I've got this burden for this one town that is 180,000 people. No Awana. None. Zero. There's churches there. There's two really large Hispanic churches. There's a large African American church, several large contemporary Christian churches, but no Awana. So I need to, on mine, me personally, I need to be writing down, we now have a missionary, thank God, in that area. Awana has a missionary now for that area, but I need to start thinking of friends that I know who might have kids, who might want to go to Awana in their own town, as opposed to doing what I do, is going to the next town over. So there's people in your churches, people that are not in club, that might not be parents, that are options. Grandparents, older people. I always say that because when I don't see a lot of older people in club, I'm like, why are there not all this wisdom at the club? It should not just be young parents. And then also single parents, as single parents would be a good thing, or the single person. Of course, everybody's got to have a background check. I'm not going to even really speak to that. That's a given. But those are options too. How many of you guys use LITs in your club for volunteering? Okay, do you guys train them beforehand, or do you just put them out to the wolves? I used to just put them out to the wolves. That was my thing, because they were so enthusiastic and excited to be there. Yes, I'm just going to put you out to the wolves. But we have no excuse now. Online at awana.org, they even have resources for the LITs that are going to be volunteering. So, tell that kid, oh, you want to come to club to help out? That's awesome. Can you read this? And then, either text, because the kids, they do everything with texting now. Can you text me the information regarding that you have looked at this? To just see if that they're really, really interested in wanting to volunteer, because sometimes they say they want to, and you're counting on them, and then what happens in club that Tuesday night, the LITs are not there. They have a homework assignment they have to do, or something else. So our main thing is to pray and then actually plan, because that's the kind of the in-between step between what Nehemiah did here. He brought, I'm going to read the next one myself. The next one, so hopefully you have some names written down there. If you don't have anybody's names, but just go ahead and put question mark. But hopefully you have a name or two of church members that come to mind that you need to start praying about volunteering. And the other little thing about volunteering is don't start asking for volunteers in August. If club starts in August, you should be getting volunteers in May when club ends. That's when you start. I have done it many times where I've started in August because club starts in September. I have started in September because club starts in September. And God's not going to honor that as well as if I do it in May. If I start doing it in May, and in the back of my mind is June, and I see some kids go to camp in July, and then I'm on constantly planning and praying about people, then you're going to have more people show up, if you have a ministry fair, August and September, as opposed to scrambling at the last second. And I have done that for years, and scrambling is not a good thing. Ooh, water, I'll take it. I won't drink it now, but I'll drink it later. Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks so much. And so we want to pray, and then we also want to plan. So the next one is bring families together to serve. That's kind of the given. Families that serve together often stay longer. Which parents do you have that are not in club? How many of you guys have like 50% of your parents kind of help out in club? How many of you have 25% of your parents help out in club? Okay, what about 15? We got 2 hands for 15%. 10%. 10%. About 5. Yeah, the 5. That's actually about the going 5% of parents help out in club. Now I did a little looking up for like band, kids that are in band and kids that are in soccer. The percentage is more like 20, 25%. So look at the difference between 20 to 25% of them doing a secular activity as opposed to, it's actually less time, actually less physical time